The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
Paranormal Buzz Radio is proud to present the Dying to Know podcast, brought to you all the way from the United Kingdom with Lee from Spirit Vision Paranormal Research.
Listener discretion is advised.
The first episode, I'm excited to be joined tonight by Daryl Marston from Ghost Hunters. Hi, Daryl.
Hey, what's going on?
Good. So for the people listening in, tell us a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about myself. I've been doing this for about 17 years now, paranormal investigating. Got into it by complete accident back in around 2005, where I was invited to a paranormal investigation. It was around Halloween over here, and I was kind of a skeptic at the time. Still am a skeptic. I don't always believe everything I see or hear until I can prove it. And I witnessed something that kind of shocked me, and which was I actually witnessed a half-body apparition. And this is the first time I'd ever had an experience of that nature. I knew when I left there that night, there's some way or somehow I was going to try to recreate this and figure out what I saw. And I was basically hooked from there. And, I've been doing it ever since. Around 2011 or so, I started my own team. Before that, I did it, on my own with my wife and everything on the side when we were dating. She got into it with me, and it kind of grew from there. Like I said, 2011, I started my own team, Breaking Paranormal, and that grew pretty quick. And we started doing a lot of places here on the East Coast, up and down the, this part of the States. So it got a little expensive doing it, out of your own pocket for a while there. So what I decided was I wanted to kind of stay in it, but not do as much investigating. So I got into doing what you're doing, live streaming, podcasts. That was slow to start for about a year or two. And then around 2015 or so, I blew up on there. And that's where Ghost Hunters found me. Hit the ground running with those guys, and had a great run with them, and got into my own company with a couple friends of mine who run Paranormal Warehouse. And that's what we're doing now. We're doing our own content creations for companies, like board games and things of that nature, paranormal stuff and horror and true crime and things of that nature. And I'm loving every minute, man. It's great. You're your own boss. You get to produce your own product, and you get paid for it. So can't complain.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
So whereabouts you up to with the series now? I'll be honest, I've seen season 1. I've not seen season 2.
Well, season 2 is quite honestly is when we really hit the ground running, man. We did in season 1, but it was in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I feel like it was overproduced, season 1. And I think they were trying to follow the blueprint of the old show too much. So when season 2 came around, we were like, hey, we had a meeting with production and people back at Post, and we're like, hey, we want to kind of take the reins and do our own thing and not follow the old blueprint. And that's what we did, man. Season 2 is it's freaking phenomenal. The cinematography alone is a mind-blowing of, the people we had behind the scenes running stuff, doing all this stuff. It was, half of it was us with the investigating and these off-the-chart locations that never been investigated before. The only one we investigated in season 2 that's ever been done before was Waverly Hills.
Right.
But all these other places had never been investigated on TV, especially. I mean, they might have had some like regular investigators come there, but as far as TV, never been seen. They were very remote locations. Talking about Haines, Alaska. You're talking about Clifton, Arizona, Fort Stanton, New Mexico, places like that where you're talking you'd have to take multiple flights and drive for hours just to get to these locations. They were pretty insane. Took a lot of time to film these locations, but it was well worth it with the evidence we walked out with after. I mean, I remember, just like it was yesterday, us cussing everybody, cussing ourselves, cussing production on all the time and effort you put into these locations. And then when you see the finished product, you're like, okay, that's why I did that. That's why I spent, 15 days in the desert. away from everybody. That's why I spent 2 weeks in Alaska freezing my ass off, snowing every day, freezing rain, and stuck in Haines, Alaska for several days, without communication to the mainland. These are the things we did when we filmed season 2, and that's why that season was so freaking well liked and loved.
That's cool. So on locations, I don't know if you find this. We tend to find it. We've done places that have been on TV, well-known haunted locations, but we've also done locations that people haven't done that have really, really not been investigated. And the stuff that we come away from them places with blows the well-known places out the window.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Do you find that?
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. I think some of the places that are more well-known that have been on TV are oversaturated. And what I mean by that is I've been to locations before, not on the show, but as a regular investigator, where I'm walking into a location and I'm literally walking past another team leaving out the door. Yeah. When you come across that, especially over here in the States, because some of these places get on TV and all of a sudden they blow up and they're booked every weekend, and some of them are booked even during the weekdays. Really hard to make contact with anything, because if there's anything there, it's not going to want to deal with you after it's just dealt with 10 other teams walking in and out of the door in the last week or two. So it's very hard to capture any kind of evidence. That's why I love these locations that have never been done or are not well known. And the cool thing was, I found out here, especially during COVID, when it was in its prime, a lot of places were locked down. You couldn't get into them for a year. So once we started hitting these locations back last spring, last summer again, and really hitting them hard, you're coming to these locations that, hadn't been investigated in over a year or so, and they got pretty active pretty quick, because whatever's in there, that energy is feeding off of what what you're bringing in the door. I mean, whether it be yourself or your equipment or whatever, and it's been sitting docile for that much longer. So, I definitely agree with you on that. I definitely agree. These locations that have never been done or haven't been done in a long time are definitely way more active.
Yeah, that's what I find. And the prices we find over, I don't know whether it's the same in America, but the prices they charge in the UK. I mean, one of our bucket lists is Edinburgh Vaults. We've booked it for next year, but it's cost us £1,200. I mean, that's just horrendous. £1,200. However, we've got a year to get ready for that. But I mean, that's just ridiculous. We have the Ancient Ramming, £500-600 a night, and you're getting 5 hours.
Yeah.
I've done a couple, and I'm glad I did them. However, I prefer to stick to the lesser known locations.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I can do lesser known locations all the time, fine with that. I get invited to a lot of locations, especially after you've been on TV and everything. Everybody wants to invite you to places. Yeah. And I've been to a lot of places, that have been on TV shows. Before some of them were on TV shows. And I'm just like, okay, that's great. If I'm in the area, I'll definitely come, but I'm not driving 10 hours to just go investigate a place that I've already been, or that I know is not going to have that much activity due to the fact that it's investigated almost every night of the week.
But the other thing is, when we go to places, we spend minimum 2 nights, normally 3 nights. And on the third night, you're getting a hell of a lot more communication and activity. It's as if like they're accepting you along the way. And to be honest, I'm saying this now, but if you'd have asked me this 3 months ago, I would have told you this was all a load of garbage. Paranormal doesn't exist. It's not real. And Sarah grew up in a haunted pub in the ancient Britain in the UK. And she was telling me all these stories. And one day I thought, you know what, I'll go and have a look. And I think we've been doing it 4th year we're in now. And it's took us 4 years to actually get something credible. Something that I actually hurts my head when I'm like, I really cannot explain that. That's just really blow my mind. But yeah, it took us 4 years. So how long do you spend when you go to locations?
Well, I mean, when we're filming, you're talking a week, sometimes 2 weeks, depending on how big the location is. When I'm not filming, usually a day, maybe 2. When we film for our Paranormal Warehouse, a lot of times we go in and we'll film for a day, maybe 2 days, depending on how long ad content we're trying to get, with as far as B-roll and actual evidence and things of that nature. So I mean, when you're filming for a show, it's usually about a week or 2. That's my experience, especially from ghost hunters. Off the show, usually about a day or 2.
Right. And do you find the longer you spend there, the more activity you're getting by the end of the...
It all depends, honestly. I mean, I've been in locations where we haven't gotten anything at all. We spent a week there, don't get a thing. And I've been in locations where as soon as you walk in the door, the activity is insane. and then it just dies and goes away. I've been on locations where you don't get anything until
Yeah, we've had that a lot.
There. You know, it's just like the last minute you're walking out the room, everything goes off and starts going crazy, and you get to go back in and kind of figure out what's going on. So I've been through all of that, you know, at one stage or another, at some point or another. I've pretty much seen all of that. Yeah.
I like the equipment you use as well. You think out the box when, from what I've seen in season 1, like I said, I've not seen season 2, but I've watched every single documentary, ghost hunting show, and I don't watch them anymore. I've watched season 1 of yours, and I said to Sarah, probably the only one I do watch and the only one that I enjoy watching.
We hear that
because
a lot.
The way that you go about it and like how like you set stuff up and the equipment you use, I've noticed, like, I don't want to say names, but I noticed a lot of TV shows will use equipment that just absolutely doesn't make sense. And they're trying to explain it, and when you think about it logically, it just doesn't make sense what they're saying. Yet they're saying this is credible, this is this, and this is that. And then when I actually went out and started investigating myself, I realised then that a lot of that is garbage. But the equipment you use is pretty cool.
Yeah, we use a lot of stuff that's not actual paranormal equipment. That's why we use things like if you watch season 2, you're going to be really blown away. If you like the equipment we use in season 1, like the EDI Plus and things of that nature, when we introduced that and some other equipment, you're going to love season 2 when the EMCCD camera comes out. That's a whole nother piece of equipment that people think this is something you could buy on Amazon. Now, this camera has been used for 30 or 40 years, but it's never been used in a paranormal setting. The thing with the EMCCD camera is what it is. It's a camera that captures single photon events. And it's been used by the military, NASA, and other scientific communities. And it was given to us to use to see. There's some scientists who are interested in the paranormal, and they're like, hey, see what you can capture with this piece of equipment. It's like a $60,000 camera. And It's no bigger than, it looks like it's a box, and it comes with a monitor you got to set up and everything. There's special lenses you have to use and to capture photon events. And out the gate, we started capturing full body apparitions with this thing and anomalies that we can't explain, that we sent back to these scientists like, hey, we can't explain this. Maybe you can. And they look at it and they're like, we have no idea what that is. I've been using that camera for 30 years. I've never seen anything like that. So when you got that,
that's amazing.
Being told to you by a scientist, and one scientist happens to be a 2-time Nobel Peace Prize winner, you're like, okay, there's something here. It's interesting to say and to see that piece of equipment work in the paranormal field. And to further that, experiment with that piece of equipment, and we capture many, many anomalies with that EMCCD camera. It's amazing. It's an amazing piece of equipment.
We'll have to watch it. We'll explain it. We'll say at the end where we can get hold of you, and now we can, watch it. So I've got a few questions for you. You've probably been asked these a billion times, but I'll have to ask them because obviously there's people going to be listening who probably want to know these questions. So the first one is best place you've ever investigated.
Ooh, that's a hard one, man. Best place on the show, I would say probably the craziest would be Haines, Alaska, and maybe Clifton, Arizona, and Fort Stanton, New Mexico. They're probably the 3 craziest. Insane evidence, just what we had to go through to get to those places and to investigate them. Off the show, I'm going to say probably the House of Wills in Cleveland and Anderson Hotel in Kentucky are probably the 2 craziest off the show I've investigated.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the creepiest?
The creepiest would be the House of Wills in Cleveland. So when I say creepy, I mean it's not just creepy looking, which it's very creepy looking. It's very ominous. It's very active, and not in a good way when I say that.
Right. I have heard of the House of Wills. I've definitely heard of the House of Wills.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what the story is behind it, but I've definitely heard of it.
Yeah. I actually wrote a book on it. Hopefully it'll be out next year.
Right, cool. And the best evidence you've captured?
Best evidence I've ever captured personally myself would be in Haines, Alaska. I had my body cam on, which is the same body cam like police use. And I actually forgot I had it on. I wore every investigation. I had a vest on. It was very cold. I had it clipped to the front of the vest. And I captured a full body apparition twice standing in front of me.
That's pretty cool. I need to see that. I've had something thrown while we're all stood in one building and we're all on camera, and that I just froze, to be honest with you, because I didn't believe in it. I just didn't believe in the paranormal. When that happened, my brain went into overtime and I just couldn't figure out what had happened. I still can't figure out what's happened. I need to go back for answers. But I think just to top it off, I'm still 60% not sure. I just need to see that. I need to see that apparition, and I think that's me done. I'm
be in that mindset of being a skeptic somewhat, because you don't want to go in there and believe everything's paranormal.
No.
You always want to have that in the back of your head. Could be a logical explanation for everything.
100%.
But when you capture something like that on camera, standing in front of you, that all goes out the door. It's like,
I know,
okay, no, that was not standing there, because I didn't see it with my own eyes. The investigator, Mustafa, the other guy who was with me, didn't see it. And our camera operator didn't see it, but we heard it. And so did our producer, and our audio girl, who were 2 stories below us, heard it running across the floor at us on the other side of the building. And then we called EVP at the same exact time. I caught the apparition standing in front of me saying, "That's me, that's me."
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's smart.
You gotta watch.
See, I'm not into, there's a lot of equipment you can buy, and we've probably got most of it. However, I just like me EDI, a voice recorder, and a camera, and I'm happy. I'm going to take that with me.
You need a good camera, good audio recorder. Like, I always use Zoom products. I love their products. And the EDI is a great tool. The fact that, I mean, if you get a hit on your EDI as far as EMF or pressure, temperature, or something of that nature, you're getting an actual hit. Because your phone can't set it off. Your walkie-talkies can't set it off. It's that well shielded. So when you get something on that, you've got something. You better pay attention to what's going on in the room. I love it due to the fact that it takes a memory card, and you can record all that, take it out, pop it on your laptop or your PC and watch it. And actually at the same time you're capturing footsteps or an EVP or whatever, you can sit there and watch, the pressure in the room go up, or the temperature decrease, increase, or EMF. And you can watch all that on that memory card. It's an amazing piece of equipment.
Yeah, it's cool. We did an experiment, and I was trying to, it annoys me a bit, people on YouTube and people, they probably do know that phones are setting off K2s, and it really, really gripes me sometimes. So I said to Sarah, let's do a little experiment. Let's get the EDI out. And we did it live. We get the EDI out. We get the K2 out. So Sarah does it just with the phone signal. K2's going off. So then she kicks Wi-Fi on. The K2's going absolutely ballistic.
Yeah.
The EDI never missed a beat. She got the phone right up to the EDI. It didn't even let a light off. And I'm going, that's why I've got that tool. That's why we only use the K2 just to do a baseline sweep, and then that goes away. But they are brilliant. I'm so pleased with mine. I'm made up with it.
Oh yeah, it's definitely for the serious investigator. There's 2 separate things going on here when it comes to paranormal. You've got ghost hunters, people who just want to go out and have a thrill, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's the entertainment side of it. And that's great. Hey, if you want to go get scared or whatever, and you think it's a ghost, maybe it is, maybe it's not. But you have the paranormal investigator who actually wants to investigate and try to prove what they're investigating if they capture something. And you need that kind of equipment. That's the kind of equipment we use on ghost hunters to actually sit down with your client at the end of the week and say, okay, I can't sit down with a REM pod or a K2 or this or that and say, oh, look, the REM pod was going on. It's definitely a ghost. Now, I can't do that, but I can do that with an EDI, or I can do that if I capture something on my audio or on my camera. And I can sit down with them and say, this is what we captured. This is what it correlates with. We were getting this at the same time we were getting this. So that when it comes to the serious investigator, you want to use the type of stuff we used in season 1 and season 2. Which is actually season 12 and season 13, if you want to be technical about it. Then if you want to just go out and have fun, hey, use your REM pods, use your K2s, whatever piece of equipment you want to buy, do it. I'm not against that. Hey, it takes all kinds in this business, man. There's the entertainment side of it, and there's the professional side of it.
But then you'll have people arguing with you saying, no, your phone doesn't affect equipment. No, it really does affect equipment. Absolutely. And we film with mics as well, and I've noticed that mics are affecting equipment as well, quite a lot.
Yeah, they can. Absolutely. Any kind of radio or Wi-Fi or anything like that can definitely affect with like your K2s, your REM pods, and things of that nature. And most of that paranormal equipment that you buy from like some of these places, if you actually read the instructions, or sometimes even it's even a little sticker on there for entertainment use only. So you got to kind of take that with, okay,
I build equipment just for our team, and I'm building stuff now with like 3 devices, like the EDI, 3 devices in one, so a REM pod, temperature, and like a motion music box all into one, and we're using that quite a lot, and that's pretty cool because if you see if like the temperature drops, if one thing goes off, I'm like, but then if you see two things being manipulated, I'm like, oh, now maybe we've got something.
Yeah. You always want to try to correlate. I mean, if you can get, it's great if you can get something going off, but if you get another piece of equipment going off at the same time, and maybe even a third piece, and maybe get a good piece of audio evidence, like with order or something, that's what the game's all about. Trying to connect the dots. That's a part of really investigating. I see it all the time because I do events all the time where I'm all around the country. People hire me to come out and investigate and do Q&A sessions and things of that nature. And people come, bringing their equipment and everything, and you always have that separation, that divide, where some people bring the really good stuff that they've seen us use, and they try to pick our brains and teach them how to use it even better. And sometimes they teach us things, but then you have the people who just bring the REM pods and stuff like that, and that's fine too. I'm all for it, man. Do what you gotta do. If you're just having fun, have fun. But if you're a serious investigator, this is how you want to do it and go about it.
A lot of time, a lot of hours, and a lot of we film three. I mean, we have 4 cameras. We have 3 nights, so you're looking at 80 plus hours. Credit goes to Sarah because she does. I mean, you obviously know yourself. Cut down into a 40-minute video. It's a lot of work, a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of.
Well, you got to figure. I mean, with the show, your average show is 43 minutes long with commercials. You got a 60-minute slot. It's usually about 41 to 43 minutes long. You got to remember, Ghost Hunters and some of these other shows, there's not just one team who's investigating. There's maybe 3 or 4 teams. Like on Ghost Hunters, I can't speak for the other shows, but on our show, everything we capture, we have to go over all our evidence, everything, all our video, all our audio. If we're using 10 cameras in a room at one time, we have to go and review all that. And you're not just talking about one run a night. You're talking sometimes 6, 7 runs a night. And you're there investigating for, close to a week. We have to go over all that. And you have to fit it all in. So you get to the point where you get smart about it and you start marking your stuff. When you start feeling there's something going on or something, you want to mark that time so you go do it and not have to go over all that. But sometimes when you do go over some stuff that you don't think that, there's nothing going on, is when you capture some amazing. I've caught some amazing evidence just before we actually filmed and our equipment's running. Before like great EVP or something that a shadow anomaly going across the room or something that we didn't see with our eyes at the time. Yeah, I've captured some amazing stuff that way.
I was going to say that to you. I've noticed it's as if when you're in conversation or you're not concentrating, but when we go into a break and we're talking and we'll be planning what we're doing next minute, something out of nowhere will just bang, and it's like, bugger, you waited all night to do that, and you've caught us right when we're.
Yeah, that's why that's one of the golden rules of filming for TV is that camera never goes off.
Right. Yeah.
I've had some very interesting meetings about when cameras were not rolling and things are getting caught. I've had some really pretty interesting bitch sessions from some high up people in LA. So you always let that camera. It doesn't.
Yeah, no, I made that mistake. I made that mistake twice, and never again. Now that camera is rolling from the minute we get there. It's on. It's on. And we made that mistake twice. One time I'm changing a battery and 2 of the team have gone, oh my God. And I'm like, oh my God, what? I'm changing a battery. And they're like, you're not going to believe what we're seeing. The camera that was facing in the room, and I'm talking literally seconds as we took the battery out, it's happened. It's as if like it knew we were going to change the battery. The camera was getting switched off. Now I'm going to have you. And luckily the 2 of the team seen it. However, it's personal experience, but it's crazy. The camera's always rolling now.
They do their own thing. So, I mean, you might want to make sure something's always going, something always running, a piece of camera or, some kind of audio or something's always on, because you never know what you're going to capture. I mean, a great instance would be for the show would be Investigator in Galena, Illinois.
Right.
We were just standing outside the building, this place called the Galena Marine Hospital. Now, this place is your typical haunted location, the kind you see on TV shows and movies. They could have made a movie about this location. It was this old, abandoned hospital in the middle of the woods, setting up on a hill, surrounded by trees that no one knew was actually there. Even the people in the town who lived a couple miles away didn't realize it was there. And you have to drive up this long, like 1 to 2 mile long driveway to get to it. And then all of a sudden you're at this place on top of the hill. And it's overlooking the town. Very ominous. But we were standing outside the location. No power to the location. So we had to have RVs there for us to kind of hang out in production. And it's middle of the winter. It's January. It's 6 below. So we had these fire barrels outside. And Mustafa and I were standing out by the fire barrel with our camera operator.
He's one of your team members, isn't he?
Yeah, Mustafa is. So I'm standing there with Mustafa by the fire barrel, and we're just kind of talking. Our camera operator, Kyle, was standing right next to us. We're just kind of shooting the shit. And Brandon and Brian come out of the building. They just investigated. They got their camera guy with them, and they're kind of downloading us on what they saw and what they captured. And they walk away. Now, you got to remember, there's no power in this building. It's typically 3 stories high. It's 2 stories with like a large attic and a lookout, which was put there during the Civil War. So we're talking, and all of a sudden I look up, and something captures my eye. The whole 2nd floor lit up. It just like lit up like someone turned lights on. And I'm like, what the hell? And our camera out, he was that good. He just swung up with his camera, had it on that fast, and captured it. We run into the building, get up to the 2nd floor. It maybe was like 15 seconds later. That's how fast we're running. It's snowing outside. It's miserable. And we're like trucking through the snow, trying to get into the building. We get up to the 2nd floor. And thank God we had this EMCCD camera set up in there on a tripod. And what it captured was, and you'll see it on season 2, was this light anomaly. Like comes from the ceiling. It looks like the heavens open up, flickers. It's probably about the size of a doorway, maybe a little bit wider, and disappears. And we actually saw that with our own eyes, and we captured it with the camera. It was. I still can't wrap my head around that one.
No, how'd you explain that?
Yeah.
You're not explaining that one, are you?
No. I mean, honestly, it looked like the heavens opened up, like a portal to heaven, and it just shined down through the room and just kind of flickered and then went away. It was there for about 3 to 5 seconds, maybe. It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
And was the place active? Was that a good?
Oh, very active. We were hearing audible footsteps, running. We actually caught on a thermal hit. Me and Mustafa were on the 1st floor investigating. We brought in a guest. He was a steamboat captain who had worked the Mississippi River, which runs right past it. And Brian and Brandon were outside with a thermal camera, like investigating the woods. And they panned up to the top floor. And there's this thermal image of a person standing there looking out the window at them. And there's nobody up there. We were on the bottom floor. So they walkie me, and I'm like, what? So I run up there real quick with our camera guy, get up to the top. Nobody up there, man. It was, and then we went back and looked at it. We recreated it. Like I stood in the window exactly where it was standing, and whatever it was maybe a few inches taller than me. So there was nobody there, man. It was absolutely insane. The place was very, very active. One of the better ones we've ever investigated. Absolutely. It was just so miserable because it was so cold. It was literally like 4 to 6 below at all times there.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, our equipment kept shutting down on us every 30 to 40 minutes because we had to go warm it up because it was just that cold.
That's crazy. We have battery drain and stuff like that, but I don't think we've never had anything like illuminations and stuff like that. That's insane. I'd love to catch something like that. Stay in the
game long enough, you'll get something like that, man.
Yeah, we're still young yet. We're only cracking at it for 4 years. Still learning. I mean, I suppose everybody's still learning. But
you'll never stop learning. I mean, until the day you're not doing this anymore, and maybe you're on the other side looking down. Which brings me to a funny thing, as I've said to this before. It's like what we're creating right now, right here and now over the last several years with these paranormal investigators you're creating these future entities or spirits that are going to be able to communicate with the people who are doing this, when they're alive and we're dead, because we know the game. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. To think of it that way, like we're going on and we're probably going to be able to have a better communication with the people who are living, when we're going. So that's the one way to look at it, which is very interesting in my opinion. And I like to think that because, I mean, it's to be able to communicate with the living once you're dead or vice versa, it's going to be amazing. That could be a breakthrough sometime in the future.
Yeah, hopefully. Because, I mean, they've been trying since the 1800s. And
well, yeah, you got to think, though, back then, I mean, even up to like the late 1990s, early 2000s, before all these shows start coming out, no one even knew what a paranormal investigator or ghost hunter was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I didn't even know when I first got started in this. I didn't think people actually did this. I had no clue. I saw a couple of the shows when they were starting out. I'm like, okay, what is this? And when I had my experience, and I'm like, oh, people really do this. Okay, this is cool. And it was taboo. You know, I didn't talk about it. I didn't tell anybody about it unless they were really close. And then, you know, once you start, the 2011, 12 started coming around, 13, and it really started, growing legs, and it really hit the ground. And it's like this phenomenon it is now with all the shows, and everybody's doing it. Everybody all of a sudden has a paranormal experience. You know, people talking about stuff they never talked about before. Something happened at their grandma's house when they were 4 years old or whatever, and they never talked about it until, they start. Like, you go to these conventions, it's funny, like you go to these paranormal conventions that I get invited to, and there's thousands of people there. Thousands. Like, I just did one in September, Jersey Para-Uni. I think the door count was 10,000 people.
Wow.
And I'm doing one in Vegas here next month that's supposedly even bigger. So the people are really coming around, which is great. People are opening their eyes.
Yeah, that's good. It's good, definitely good.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of years experience between. I mean, is it Grant's got 30 years?
Yeah.
You've been doing it for 17 years.
Yeah, most of the people.
And then add on the rest of the team. I like the way Brandon thinks. Pretty clever lad.
Yeah, Brandon has been doing it as long as I have. I think we're probably the second to been doing it the longest after Grant. And then you got Brian's got about 12 or 13 years in, Kristen as well, and Rochelle and Mustafa right behind them, not far behind them. So we've all been doing it we're all definitely veterans at it and been doing it for many years, but you always learn, I even learned from people who have only been doing it for a few years. You always pick up something different, like I'll go to these events I do, and there's always something you pick up from somebody. Like, you think, that's kind of cool. I'm going to try that, add that to my routine. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But you never stop learning, man. I learned a lot from Grant. I learned a lot from a lot of people, Brandon, Mustafa, the great guys. I do stuff with Mustafa all the time, because
I see you with him a lot on your Instagram.
Yeah, because we live really close. We're East Coast. The rest of the guys are like Midwest and West Coast. Mustafa lives maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours from me. So when we do events, we try to stay out here on the East Coast, and we do a lot of stuff together, and we're always learning off each other. That's the great thing about that team. The few of us that do these events together, like, you never know who's running the show, because we're all strong in some suit. Sometimes you'll go in, you'll know who the alpha and who the beta is, but not with us. It's great because we all feed off each other very well, and we kind of run like a well-oiled machine, which is very nice. Never had that.
Yeah, it definitely helps when you're a team, and you are a team, not just one of you is the team.
Yeah.
Definitely helps. Do you find as well asking the right questions? And we find a lot with music, if we play music in a certain situation, it seems to have helped in some of the places we've been. Definitely seems to have helped.
Yeah, trigger objects, definitely. And sometimes just not asking a question at all. I mean, I've got to the point where, it's hard to do when you're with these groups, when you're kind of investigating, with the public. It's hard to do, but when you're doing it on your own, it's a lot easier because you can take your time and be more methodical about it. But I like not asking anything at all. I'll go into a location, and whoever I'm with, I'll just have a conversation with them about the location, not actually asking a question. And sometimes, like, I'll even put out, things that are not real about the property.
Right, I've done that, yeah.
I'll make up something just so something corrects me, and I've had that happen. It doesn't always happen, but I've had things actually correct me. Like, I'll say, oh, I heard 35 people died here. And they're like, you'll get something like, no, 2 people died here.
Yeah.
It's just it's an example. But I like doing that, because then then you get that, and you're like, all right, so there's something here. So, like, I just did an investigation up in Albany, New York, probably about 2 weeks ago, something like that. There's a rumor of a little girl who passed away in this property, but the rumor was she definitely died there. But I think there's foul play. So I decided, they said that she drowned in the well. Well, it was kind of hard for her to drown in the well, because the well was covered with a very large oak, like, door that she was only 5 years old. There's no way she could have opened it. So I asked the question, well, so I hear, I think her name was Rosie. Don't quote me on that. I said, hey, Rosie, so I want to ask you a hard question. I hear that you may have been, thrown in the well or drowned in the bathtub and got an EVP, like literally right, we were doing birth sessions, got an EVP right after that from a male saying, really? Like in a very like voice, like, really? Like, you're going to go there? And I'm like, okay. I said, no. So we know whoever this guy is, that he's here. Maybe it's her father, or they would say, the rumor was it's possibly her uncle who drowned her or something like that. So yeah, it's like, it didn't go much further than that, but just to get that was pretty cool.
That's smart.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Right. So for everybody listening, where can they find out about what you do and what how to get hold of you and what your platforms are?
I mean, best thing to do is you can look me up on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter under just Daryl Marston. I'll pop right up. Best thing to do, you can go to my Instagram page, you go right to my link tree, and it takes you to my website and everything. And Paranormal Warehouse is the company that I'm co-owner of, and that's where we do our videos, really cool stuff coming out. You'll see a lot of these games behind me. Aliens, Horrified, Gargoyles, Echoes, which is all games we're doing commercials for and things of that nature. So yeah, you go check me out. Go check out Paranormal Warehouse and what we're doing and all the cool stuff that's happening here in the future in the next year or so.
Cool, that's smart. Right, so thank you for listening. Don't forget to check in next month to see who the next guest is. It'll be, sorry, and it's good night from me and good night from Daryl.
Good night, guys.
Thank you, mate. Wow.
You're welcome.